See if this. Oh, hello, hello. Here I am. Anybody home out there? Oops, wrong way. Round here. Nope, wrong way. Some of my destinations have errors. Okay, so that means that Facebook is being weird again. Oh well. Luckily, I can be picked up on YouTube also, and Twitter too. You find this on Twitter. So, welcome, welcome. We still have like a whole minute before we are supposed to stop, but I want to just wait a couple minutes and see if more people come aboard so they don't miss out, right, on the opening story. So, yeah. Okay, here we are, 2 o'clock, time to rock. Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Schultz, known as the Bay Lady, and I do a lot of tours around the Chesapeake Bay area. It's so beautiful right here, and there are so many interesting things to do, and I like to share, so we all benefit, right? Today is our hump day, midweek, midday, little 30-minute escape from the pressures of life and reality and play a little relaxing game. So this is Minute Mysteries. Welcome to Minute Mysteries. I have several books that we use that contain these cute little uh, detective stories. Some are theft, some are murder. It just depends on the story. And you're given clues, and then at the end, you're to figure out who done it, basically, who had done it. So today, we'll be working from this wonderful little book, Crime Busters, 5-Minute Crime Busters, right? They are Minute Mysteries by Stan Smith. While you're absorbing that, I'll read the back cover. Okay. Solve thrilling murders and cases of robbery, fraud, espionage, and more with Thomas Stanwyck in this collection of puzzling mysteries. Figure out who poisoned Robin Dunhope of Dunhope and Henderson, a prosperous insurance agency, and a New Year's Eve party. Learn how a customer can incriminate himself in the theft of a book, and why the Family Help Today charity is a fraud. And who is the spy at the Free Democratic People's Republic of North Bulgaria who stole the Ministry of Defense plans for a submarine firing sequence scrambler? Yay, hey. Hey, Judy, how are you? How's it going? So, that is our buddy here. So, today's mystery is going to be the adventure of the negative clue. The adventure of the negative clue. Okay. Now, what I do is I read the story twice. So, if you're a little late dropping in, you get a chance to hear a repeat so you can, fully participate in crime solving. So, let's go. The adventure of the negative clue. Not even the usual heat of that late spring day could dissuade Thomas Stanwyck from driving into the city. The amateur logician had just learned that one of Royston's most select book dealers was holding a sale of rare folios at 2 in the afternoon. His his bi, um, bibliophobic instincts aroused, Stanwick was braving the heat in the downtown traffic he detested when the police radio in his car reported a murder nearby. A middle-aged man had been stabbed to death in Hardy's hardware store just 3 blocks away. Squad cars were told oops, Squad cars were told to watch for a white male, 5 feet 10 inches, 160 pounds, and about 22 years old, with black hair and a pencil mustache. He was wearing a white t-shirt, a leather jacket, and blue jeans. Stanwick wrestled with his competing interests for about 2 seconds and then turned towards the hardware store. Parking his car down the block, he walked through a curious throng and, with a flash of his police pass, entered the shop. Inspector Walker arched his sandy eyebrows in surprise as he caught sight of his friend. "Hello, Matt," said Stanwick. "I heard the bulletin on the radio and I thought I'd stop by for a look." "Well, glad to see you, Tom." Walker nodded to a dead body crumpled on the floor in front of the sales counter. "Well, there's what there is to look at." The victim was a dark-haired man in his middle 40s. He lay face up. The handle of a knife protruded from his ribs, and a circle of blood had soaked through his blue coat. "His wallet is missing," Walker reported dryly, "as is a briefcase the sales clerk said he was carrying when he came in. From other papers in his pockets, we've identified him as Hubert French, an accounting executive from Hellstrom." "Did the clerk see it happen?" Stanwick asked, glancing at the thin, balding man lurking behind the counter. "No, he says French came in to pick up a special wrench he had ordered. A guy fitting the bulletin description came in just a few seconds later. The clerk went back to get the wrench, and while there, heard sounds of a scuffle and a cry. He rushed in and found French dead and the other fellow gone." Stanwick fingered the tip of his mustache. "Any prints on the weapon?" Walker shook his head. "No. The clerk says our suspect wore gloves." Just then the outer door opened, and 2 policemen entered with a manacled man closely fitting the description given on the radio. Okay, that would be this. Okay, so that is the suspected perp, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So, Inspector, this is T.A. Orison, said the older officer. "We found him 4 blocks away, walking briskly down Jefferson. Says he was on his way home after slicing fish in the back of Bradford's fish market all morning. He fits the description, though, so we picked him up. Walker looked closely at Orison, who was wearing green sunglasses. What you know about this, Mr. Orison? He demanded, pointing to the corpse. Nothing, Orison replied angrily. I was at work all morning. I haven't been in this place for at least 3 weeks. How long have you worked at Bradford's? 2 months now, part-time. I work from 7 to noon, 6 days a week. I put in some overtime today and was on the way home when I was grabbed by these two guys in a squad car and brought here. A mild metallic odor stuffed the small shop. Stanwick wandered to a window, opened it part way, and gazed idly out. Walker continued his questions. You implied that you visited this shop a few weeks ago? Why? I don't know. I had to get nails or tape or something. Why did you work late today? We got a big catch in this morning and I was the only one there. Walter signaled to the uniformed officers. All right, that's enough for here. Take him to the station for more questioning. Once the others had left, Stanwick rejoined the inspector. When you get back, Matt, you might as well book him for the murder. He's your man. Walker turned to him in astonishment. What makes you so sure? I admit he's on shaky ground, but I don't see any conclusive clue. Stam smiled. In a way, there isn't one, he replied. What's really significant in this case is what you would call a negative clue, the one that isn't there. So, your question, my friends, is what is the negative clue? What is it? Okay, let me read again. Okay, the adventure. Oh, the sun went in. It just got dark in here. The adventure of the negative clue. Hold on. All right. All right. The adventure of the negative clue. Not even the usual heat of that late, no, sorry. Not even the unusual heat of that late spring day could dissuade Thomas Stanwick from driving into the city. The amateur logician had learned that one of Royston's most select book dealers was holding a sale of rare folios at 2 in the afternoon. Stanwick was braving the heat and the downtown traffic he detested when the police radio in his car reported a murder that was nearby. A middle-aged man had been stabbed to death in Hardy's hardware store, 3 blocks away. Squad cars were told to watch for a white male, 5 feet 10 inches, 160 pounds, about 22 years old. He had black hair and a pencil mustache and was wearing a white t-shirt, a leather jacket, and blue jeans. Stanwick wrestled with his competing interests for about 2 seconds and then turned toward the hardware store. Parking his car down the block, he walked through a curious throng and, with a flash of his police pass, entered the shop. Inspector Walker, arched his sandy eyebrows in surprise as he caught sight of his friend. "Hello, Matt," said Stanwick. "I heard the bulletin on the radio and thought I'd stop by for a look." "Well, glad to see you, Tom." Walker nodded to a dead body crumpled on the floor in front of the sales counter. "Well, that's what there is to look at." The victim was a dark-haired man in his middle 40s. He lay face up. The handle of a knife protruded from his ribs, and a circle of blood had soaked through his blue suit. "His wallet is missing," Walker reported dryly, "as is a briefcase the sales clerk said he was carrying when he came in. From other papers in his pockets, we've identified him as Hubert French, an accounting executive from Helston." "Did the clerk see it happen?" asked Stanwick, glancing at the thin, balding man lurking behind the counter. "No. He says French came in to pick up a special wrench he had ordered. A guy fitting the bulletin description came in just a few seconds later. The clerk went to the back to get the wrench. He heard a scuffle while he was back there and a cry. He rushed in and found French dead and the other fellow gone." Hmm. Okay. Stanwick figured the tip of his mustache. "Any prints on the weapon?" Walker shook his head. "Nope. The clerk says our suspect wore gloves." Just then the outer door opened and two policemen entered with a manacled man closely fitting the description that was given on the radio. "Inspector, this is T.A. Orison," said the older officer. "We found him 4 blocks away, walking briskly down Jefferson. Says he was on his way home after slicing fish in the back of Radford's Fish Mart all morning. He fits the description, though, so we picked him up." Walker looked coldly at Orison, who was wearing green suspenders. "What do you know about this, Mr. Orison?" he demanded, pointing at the corpse. "Nothing," Orison replied angrily. "I was at court all morning. I haven't been in this place for at least 3 weeks." "How long have you worked at Radford's?" "2 months now, part-time. I work from 7 to noon, 6 days a week. I put in some overtime today and was just on the way home when I was grabbed by these two guys in a squad car and brought here." A mild metallic odor suffused the small shop. Stanwick wandered to a window, opened it part way, and gazed idly out. Walker continued his questions. "You replied that you visited this shop a few weeks ago. Why?" "I don't know. I had to get nails or tape or something." "Why did you work late today?" "We got a big catch in this morning and I was the only one there." Walker signaled to the uniformed officers. "All right, that's enough for here. Take him to the station for more questioning." Once the others had left, Stanwick rejoined Inspector Walker. "When you get back, Matt," he said, "you might as well book him for the murder. He's your man." Walker turned to him in astonishment. "What makes you so sure?" "I admit he's on shaky ground, but I don't see any conclusive clue." Stanwick smiled. In a way, there isn't one, he replied. That's what's really significant. You could call it a negative clue, the one that isn't here. What was the negative clue? Anybody? Judy, what you think? I think I know. I think I know the answer. What do you all think? Is this guy, what's the negative clue? And it made this guy guilty. So why do you suppose that is? Any guess before I say mine and then check to see what the real answer is? Anybody? Nope, nope. Oh. Okay, well then, let me just say that I think he's guilty because that rusty smell. Where was it? Let's see who's there was a smell there. In fact, Stanwick smelled something and then walked over and opened the window. I guess he was airing it out. Said it was kind of like a mild metallic odor. So here's what I think. I think that odor, okay, if you've been around fish in the fish market, isn't there like a metallic kind of smell to all those fish? I think so. And so this guy that they picked up said that with me, I was working in the fish market all morning. Well, then why did yeah, that's what I say, Judy. So then why did, um, well, whatever. But yeah, that's what I thought too. The guy at the market. That's how the place couldn't have smelled like fish if he hadn't been there. Okay, let's read the solution. Mhm. Okay, the adventure of the negative clue. Yeah, we got it, Judy. We're good. It says if Orison had just finished slicing fish all morning, he would have retained a noticeable odor of fish, especially on a wet day. While Walker was questioning him, however, the shop had only a metallic odor. The absence of a sharp fish odor was the negative clue. Okay, well, we got the guy, he did it, but I didn't get the negative clue right. I was thinking that the metallic odor was the fishy smell. You think we read this one before? God, I'm getting mad here, aren't I? Um, hmm. And I did it and didn't check it off, huh? Well, that would be terrible. How about New Year's Eve? There's one from New Year's Eve. Shall we try it? Or let's see, there is a New Year's dissolution, and there's the case of the invisible murderer. None of those sound familiar. We can go with it. I think, you know what, and I should make sure I check off this one you just did, because I hadn't apparently. Okay, well, let's try this one. And if it seems familiar, let me know. Oh, I think my dog wants to go outside. Do you want to go outside? Huh? You want to go outside? Yes? No? No, she just laid down. Okay, well, let's try this one, shall we? A New Year's dissolution. Thomas, Thomas Stanwick was still fighting off sleep as he mounted the front steps of the Dunhope home in Royston. Some way to begin a new year, he thought. After attending a New Year's Eve party, he had been roused at 6 by a phone call from Inspector Walker. Robert Dunhope of Dunhope and Henson, a prosperous insurance agency, had been poisoned at a New Year's Eve party in his home, and Walker had asked Stanwyck to have a look. Happy New Year, Tom, said Walker dourly at the door. This way. Walker led Stanwyck into a large, well-furnished living room. Three men and a woman, still in evening clothes, sat numbly on a long sofa. Does this sound familiar? Anybody yet? No? The body has been removed, said Walker. Mrs. Dunhope has gone down to headquarters. These four, I take it, were guests at the party, said Stanley. That's right. John Merrydale was Dunhope's accountant. Harriet Schultz is a friend of Mrs. Dunhope and has written several popular cookbooks. Simon Henson is the junior partner at Dunhope's firm, and George Dunhope is the victim's nephew. Stanwyck sat down in an armchair across from the sofa and glanced quickly around the room. Walker took out his official notebook. I'd like to ask the four of you to repeat to Mr. Stanwyck what you remember about the events of last night, said the inspector. Henson, a haggard man with a trim dark beard, gave a long sigh. Up until midnight, he said, it was pretty much the same party we have together every New Year's Eve, except for George being with us. I'm starting my graduate studies at Royston State next week, said George. I've been staying with Aunt Grace and Uncle Bob until I can find a place of my own in the city. What went on until midnight? Asked Stanwyck. Oh, you know, said Miss Schultz. Punch, eggnog, conversation. Bob and John started a game of chess. Shortly before midnight, Simon and I passed out some hors d'oeuvres I had prepared. She clenched a crumpled cocktail napkin and brushed away a tear. Stanwyck began toying with the tip of his mustache. And what happened at midnight? He asked. As the hour approached, said Merrydale, we all stood up and I filled everyone's glass with champagne. When midnight struck, we all cheered Happy New Year and drank a toast. In doing so, Simon accidentally bumped into Bob and caused him to spill some of his champagne, but it was quickly cleaned up. A few minutes later, though, Bob just collapsed. We thought it was a heart attack and called an ambulance. By the time the medics arrived, Bob was already dead. They checked him and it looked suspicious, so they called the police. Thank you. Excuse us a moment. Stanwyck stood up and stepped into the hallway with Walker. What has the medical examiner found, Matt? Walker grimaced and scratched the back of his neck. Dr. Pillsbury says it looks like a fast-acting poison. We've tested the champagne remaining in Dunhope's glass and stained on his clothing, though, and there is no trace of poison. How about the hors d'oeuvres? The guest said he only ate half of one. The half he didn't eat checked out clean. He didn't eat or drink anything else. Any food or strange objects in his pockets? No, just keys, change, and a comb. That's what has us stumped, Tom. He must have been poisoned right around midnight, but we can't even figure out how he ingested the stuff. Excuse me, he said. If Pillsbury's results are confirmed and no more significant facts come to light, I think I can point out the method of murder and the likely murderer. Okay, so your question is, who murdered Dunhope and how? Who and how? Cool. All right. What time is it? Are we good? Okay, so who murdered Mr. Dunhope? So let's see, who did we have? Well, they sent Mrs. Dunhope down to police headquarters to be questioned. Okay, so all right. So then what was left are the four guests still at the house, which would be John Marydale, who is Dunhope's accountant, Harriet Schultz, who's Mrs. Dunhope's friend, Simon Henson, a junior partner in Dunhope's law firm, and George Dunhope is a nephew of the victim. So, what do you think? Anybody? Uh, what else do we know? They ate hors d'oeuvres, but that checked out. The champagne didn't show any trace of any type of poison. So the question is, who murdered him and how? Judy says Simon. Yeah? Let's see. Page 87. Oops, it was way in the back here. Oh, 87. Where are you at? Okay, 87. Oh, it's got quite a lengthy explanation here. All right, let's go for it. A New Year's dissolution. If the poison was not administered by food, drink, or inhalation, since no one else was affected, it must have been administered by touch through the victim's skin pores. Oh, wow. The only thing Dunhope touched shortly before his collapse that he hadn't touched earlier and that no one else had touched was the inside of the napkin served with his hors d'oeuvres. Ooh. Remember that Miss Schultz was still holding a napkin. Therefore, this had been doctored with poison. The critical event was Dunhope's being bumped and spilled his champagne. Since he was not carrying a handkerchief, he must have opened his napkin to clean up the spill and so touch the poison. Wow. Only Henson had helped serve the hors d'oeuvres and napkins and then bumped into Dunhope, causing him to open the napkin. Henson was therefore the logical suspect. Walker's investigation bore out Stanwyck's conclusions. Henson was convicted of murdering his partner to gain full control of their lucrative agency. Wow. Wow. He's not a good business partner to have now, is he? Whoa. Okay, well, there you have it. Interesting there, the poison in the napkin. Hmm, don't get it quite, but that's all right. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming to Minute Mysteries today. It always makes a nice little break. So, see you next week, same time, same station, for Beatles trivia. Woohoo! See you guys. Thanks, Judy. Bye.